One of the most effective ways to learn and grow in anything is by discovering what others do that are successful and learn from them. We give you that opportunity often on our podcast as we talk to those that have worked hard and achieved success. Today we are chatting with the winners of the September 2020 Zebra Review Contest. Our theme was study desks, and what a great theme it was, as so many of you refinished old desks to sell or for your own homeschooling efforts and for your home offices. We recently announced the winners, and we are going to chat with them shortly. We'll hear about their secrets to their piece, and then we'll have a panel discussion on the topic, how important is your refinishing workspace? Before we do that, we want to thank our judges. Katie with Katie & Company Furniture Restorations, Lauren with Portland Rose Studio, Keegan with Lemon Drops Reclaimed, Natalie with Array of Sunlight, and our guest judge for September, Jen with Perfectly Imperfect Furniture Restorations. You guys have the tough job of choosing the most outstanding pieces, and you had a lot of great pieces to review. We also want to thank our prize sponsors. Again, really terrific group of companies and wonderful prizes. Paint Couture Paint, The Lawless Hardware, Surf Prep Sanding, Gary's Big Bowls, and of course, Zebra Paintbrushes. Listeners, if you are able to check out these pieces while you listen to the podcast, they are featured on our podcast page for you to enjoy. Just go to thezebrablog.com and click on the podcast icon. Okay, friends, let's learn and be inspired as we talk to the winners. We have Jenna with Happy Valley Restorations winning first place, Susan with Little Lou Designs scoring second, and Jen and Amanda with Vintage Sisters snatching third. Congratulations to all three of you. Excuse me, congratulations to all four of you.
Thank you so much,
thinking?
Thank you. Thank you, Lane.
Yeah, I got to remember that. We've got the Vintage Sisters with us, so we've got Jen and Amanda, so very cool. Well, with everything that has gone on this year, how surprised were you when you saw this theme, study desks?
Not very.
Yeah, not very at all. And I mean, it's a great one for the fall back to school anyways. But then obviously this year, it seems to be more in demand for people to have their individual workspaces at home. So it was perfect. It was the perfect theme for this fall or back to school September.
Absolutely.
Well, so now were you all already working on desks? And so this just fit perfectly with your refinishing schedule? Or did this really, were you like, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to do a desk for the contest and it's perfect timing?
I had a couple in my garage already before you announced the theme. And so we were somewhat prepared, I guess. And so we had done 2 in September, I believe. And this one that we had won third place for, I had bought back in May, I believe. And it was just one of those projects that was really, I knew was going to be a lot of work. So I just was kind of going back and forth to it. So this pushed me to actually get it completed. So that worked out well.
Oh, good. Oh, that's a nice, good story. I like that. What about you, Susan?
I had so many requests for desks for kids at home, and I said, okay, I need to go find some. This was prior to even knowing that was your contest theme. So I searched. I said, all right, I looked for a pair that was hopefully identical, but they ended up being very similar. So that was good enough. And then just started to do it. I figured it would be fun because I hadn't done anything like that. And then I saw that was your theme for the month. So it worked out perfectly. But I did the desks prior to knowing.
Yeah, well, very good.
Oh,
what about you, Jenna?
Yeah, I've been working on a couple desks actually prior to them announcing they were doing desk as the contest. So it kind of just worked out in my favor in that aspect, just because I'm still working on some. Actually, I think I've got 5 or 6 more that I still have to finish.
Yeah, so we should have done a second theme, a study desks too. That would have been great and perfect.
Not just students, like teachers or people that are working from home. I've had multiple people that now have been going to be working from home. They're not going back to the office and need, like, one lady was like, oh, I'm working on one of those like camp fold out tables. She's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, okay, perfect. I'll find you something. So yeah, it's been nonstop with people looking for desks. And actually it's kind of funny because that's a little hard to find desks right now because everybody wants them.
Well, that makes sense. Well, let's talk locations and get your weather reports. I got to have the weather report. So Jenna, you live in New York. Where in New York do you live?
So I live in central New York. I live in Verona, New York, which isn't too far. I'm about 45 minutes from Syracuse, New York, and about an hour from Albany, New York. So kind of in the middle. It's rainy here today, but it's fall central New York weather, I always say, unpredictable.
Yeah, exactly. Now, do you know Sarah with Olive and Fern? Because she's in Syracuse.
I do know Sarah. Yeah, I know she's not too far from me. I get paint from Sarah. Yep, she's great. I love her. I go to her for a lot, bounce ideas off each other and stuff like that. Yep.
Yeah, I love it that when you hear these stories, not only of developing relationships through Instagram, but also those that live in close proximity, really supporting one another in that way as well.
Yeah.
What are your fall leaves like? Are they pretty brilliant right now, or
Yeah,
where are we
yeah,
at on that?
it's pretty peak, and like I said, we're not too far from the Adirondack Mountains here, so a
Hmm.
lot of people go up north, which is only about a 45-minute drive. But yeah, they're peak right now, and they're falling. It's pretty. It's very pretty here, especially when the sun's shining and it's not a gloomy fall day. But when it's a nice sunny fall day, it's pretty here.
Well, Susan, you as well live in a beautiful part of the country, and I'm sure it really is colorful this time of year. Has the beautiful colors of fall arrived yet in
Yes,
Massachusetts?
yep, they have. We are, I'd say, pretty close to peak. Although I'm looking out right now, we still have some green out there, but lots of golds and reds. So yes, we are pretty close to peak foliage season.
Now, what is your weather like? Are you having a
We
rainy day
are.
like
Yeah,
Jenna?
it's 52 degrees
Oh,
Fahrenheit
wow.
and kind of gray and
Ooh.
rainy. It is not a nice day today.
Does it look like you're gonna get some sun this
Oh,
week?
I haven't even looked forward to that. I don't know. I haven't one day at a time here with the kids getting to school and whatnot. Hopefully, the
I
weather's
know.
been pretty good. Today is our first rainy day for a while, so I guess that's okay.
Well, that certainly it keeps you from complaining, and I like your attitude, taking one day at a
Yes.
time, not getting so focused on all the other days. That's very good. Well, Amanda and Jen, I believe you guys are very north. you
Yes, we
guys,
are.
you guys are probably already in winter. Am I right?
Ah,
Getting there.
close.
Yeah. It's like the leaves are almost, well, I don't know if they're half gone, but a lot of them are off. But yesterday I was out on the deck and I could see like some of my trees still have nice red leaves on them and yellow, but a lot of them have fallen because we've had so much wind. So any of them that were just kind of lingering were knocked down the other day. But this morning when I was driving really slow to get here, when we heard about the time lapse here, I looked at the weather and it said it was already +4 Celsius. So it's like a nice feeling here for this time of year. It's just a nice
Yeah,
crisp fall day, I guess it is.
I converted. I
and
think that's like 37
Ooh,
oh
Fahrenheit or
man,
something, 37, 38. So it's
that is
cool,
Yeah,
cool.
it's cool,
but
but
it's
at
kind of,
least so
yeah,
far it's not too windy though. That makes it really miserable. So this
yeah.
morning it seems calm. It'll probably get really windy. But like you guys have been
yeah.
saying, you've been having lots of rain, but we have not. It's been a really, really dry year here for us. So we could really use a nice fall rain to soak everything before the snow
Yeah.
comes.
Well, I should not assume that our listeners know where you guys are from. So why don't you share what part of the world you guys live in?
Yeah, we're in southern Saskatchewan in Canada. So yeah, it's sort of
More Western Canada is what
yeah.
it's
Oh, wow.
considered. So,
southern Saskatchewan. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so you guys are just kind of above what, Montana, North Dakota, that part
Yes.
of the
Yes,
U.S.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
that's why I emphasized, are they already in winter?
I
Because
think the forecast this week, there's possible snow, maybe
oh,
possible rain or snow, I guess, depending on how cold it gets. So lots of times we'll get a little bit of snow this time of year and then it
mhm.
melts, right? And then we don't really get a real good dump that's going to actually stay till probably well into November. But yeah,
Yeah.
any day now, it'll be here.
And and you guys sound cool with it, so you know what? We're good
Well,
with it
we're
if you're good
not
with it.
really, but
I know. We
You
talk
can't
about
do
it with
anything about it, right?
right,
exactly.
we're here
We
to
talk about it
stay.
with other people. You're like everybody complains about how cold our winters are and the snow, but it's like we don't go anywhere. Like you choose to stay, so stop complaining.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, and there's nice things about winter. I mean, we don't want to like totally lambast winter here, but there's cozy aspects. You can have a fire, you can,
Mm-hmm.
drink some hot cup of cocoa, and of course that only
Mm-hmm.
lasts so long, from month to month to month to month to
Yeah.
month, right? It
We
can get
might
old quickly.
the rumor is that we might be getting an outdoor rink in my neighborhood. So we're excited for that. The kids are pumped.
Oh
So
wow.
hopefully that actually happens. It's hard to say with all the COVID restrictions in place, but so if that's the case, then yeah, the kids will be skating at the outdoor rink
Oh yeah, that
in
would
the
be great.
park. So they will be happy. And they go tobogganing. We in our little neighborhood we have a large berm at the end of our bay, and so it's kind of the perfect hill for the kids to just go tobogganing at night, and sometimes we'll go put a big spotlight out there and then they can do night sledding. So I mean, you have to make the most of it, right?
Yeah, and that sounds nice though, and I'm glad
Mm-hmm.
that's certainly an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get to your winning pieces. And Jen and
Yes.
Amanda, you guys won third place, and you went with sort of a neutral color. And man, you guys knocked it out of the park. Wow.
Ah,
I
thank you
mean,
so
really. So,
much.
so this definitely, now this is an Empire piece of furniture, but I have to say, I don't believe I have seen an Empire desk before. Are
You
they sort of
know,
uncommon?
even when I was searching on Pinterest or Instagram for just some inspiration, I didn't find too many. And so in our area, Empire desks and any sort of Empire style furniture is very rare to find. And
Hmm.
it is our favorite style of antique furniture. And I mean, we can probably count on one hand how many pieces we have bought or found over the years and refinished. And so this was from an estate dispersal back in the spring, and I saw it online, or Jen and I saw it, and it was very expensive, of course. Like an antique appraiser came in, and I was watching it, and so finally I just messaged. It was the daughter who was, trying to sell her parents' belongings, and said, "This is my limit. I don't want to insult you, but I know how much work it's going to take to refinish this, and so this is all I can offer." So she thought about it. She said, "Okay, well, I'll let you know if I decide." So then she came back to me a few days later and said, "You know what? I will accept your offer because I just know that my mom would be happy to have it refinished and used again than sitting in the garage or in the dump." So I was so excited. So then when I went to go pick it up, she had told me the story how it's from Oklahoma. So her mom, that's where she grew up, and her dad was Canadian from Saskatchewan. He was down in Oklahoma playing on a football scholarship. This was back in the 60s. And so he was playing for the university. That's where they met. And then she moved back to Canada with him and brought some of her pieces of furniture. So, and then he ended up playing professional football here in Canada. So, this was used as her sewing desk for all these years that she had it. And so I thought that was a really interesting story. I love the stories behind all of these antique pieces.
Hmm.
I think that's one of the best aspects of them, right? When you're refinishing, is to find out all these details. And so I knew I had to keep it for myself. We've sold a couple. All of our other Empire pieces, I think we've sold. I don't think we've kept any other
Just that
ones.
one that you sold to replace this one.
Yeah, and
but you were holding
so
on to it for a while.
you kind of kick yourself because they're so hard to find. So I just thought, no, I have to keep this. I already had a spot for it. I'm actually using it as a sideboard in my dining room because I don't have room for a big traditional buffet. So I'm using it as a little sideboard, and it's perfect. So I knew I was going to keep it for myself. So I refinished it for my style to fit in my house. And then I just thought it was cute to style it with the vintage sewing decor, and just to, attribute, I guess, of its story and for something different. So, I mean, the theme was study desks, but it could, so I just tried to portray it as a designer's study desk, right? That's how I envisioned designer's or a seamstress's desk setup. My mom, our mom, has been a seamstress for, I mean, her entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, she's sewn since as long as we can remember. So it was easy to find inspiration for that just because that's what we grew up in, right? And she also had a lot of these items that were her mother's. So I got a lot of the items from her to stage with. So yeah, it all came together quite nicely. And the color that we used was just perfect. I wanted a gray that didn't have those blue undertones that you can so easily get stuck with, right? So this one was more of a brown, bronzy gray is what they called it. So it took me a while to find the perfect color, but I did, and it was worth the wait. And so, but it was a lot of work refinishing this. The veneer on the top nearly put us over the edge. And every time we say we're not buying a piece that has veneer damage, we always do it. And you always think it'll be easier than it is, and it never is.
Yeah.
And so that was one that it was just constantly, okay, let's soak it. We'll pick away at a little patch, and then we'll come back. Oh my gosh. So it was a long battle. So that's why it just took months, because it just kept coming in and out. And
but the top, like, really, I mean, it is so worth it, because I know so many people say, like, why don't you just, a lot of people ask us why we do, like, the wood tops on things, and a lot of times it's for durability, but also because it's like, you just know that there's something nice underneath there. Like, you don't always know, but after those 2 layers of veneer sometimes, and like, that top is so beautiful, and like, lots of people complimented and said how they just love the top. Everybody was saying the top. I mean, the whole thing has beautiful details. The legs and everything are pretty, but the top, everybody really loves.
And it's a solid chunk. It's a solid piece of maple, I believe. The top. So, and the nice thing too is underneath the veneer, it's a solid piece of wood that hasn't been touched with stain, right? So, I feel like it's so much easier to get that beautiful finish, because you're not trying to strip out or remove old stain or trying to go over old stain, right? So it's just, it turns out so much nicer if you can actually tolerate the veneer removal. So
I know when I first saw it, and again, not knowing that there were Empire desks, I actually thought it was one of these transformations where you took an Empire dresser and transformed it into a desk.
Yes.
I mean, because I thought, well, maybe maybe
that.
the bottom drawer was bad, and you just, I would imagine you could do that if you had a piece that wasn't in the kind of shape that you wanted it to be,
just
right?
bought one that's not Empire, actually.
Yeah, actually, that's funny. Yeah, we do have one in our inventory of a regular desk a dresser that was done,
just a little one,
exactly that, taking the 2 bottom drawers out and made into a desk.
But
and actually, the bottom piece of that desk I wanted to remove, because I thought, then it'll look more like a sideboard. I couldn't get that out. I don't know how it was installed, but it's there to stay. So it still has the actual look of a desk, because I just couldn't get that removed, and thought I didn't want to break the frame trying to bang this thing out. So it stayed as is, and it was meant to be there.
Well, you guys always do a really nice job with staging. I think staging is interesting because, and we've had these conversations before, but you can go overboard with staging. You can have too much stuff to where it becomes a distraction. But you guys always have, most of the time, usually have a lot of staging props. But you know what? Everything you put in there is like, you wouldn't want to remove anything that you have. I mean, you do a really good job with that.
Well, thank you. That's good to know, because I actually was a little bit worried that I had too much in this, but I felt like to try and, I don't know.
How do you pick which ones you don't like?
Yeah, I mean, I think I did remove a few things off there, but I didn't really know what I could take out that would still make it look good, and then still kind of have all of the space kind of filled and equal. I don't know. So thank you. I'm glad, because I was worried about that that it was going to be too much. But I mean, the props were all quite interesting. They were all vintage. They were fun to use. The paper on the wall was, they're not patterns, but they're almost diagrams of something. I don't even know, but they're beautiful if you can zoom in. But they looked like they had been burned. And so a lot of those were our grandmother's. And so you almost wonder if they accidentally got thrown in the burning barrel and then she tried to rescue them really quickly, because they all had burned edges and they were so fragile to pull apart and hang on the wall. But they added so much character. Like, they were just so neat, and they were just all diagrams of dresses and different types of patterns and such. So
it looks like they might have come from an old magazine, like a women's sewing magazine. They're so pretty, and I can imagine them framed too. They would look so nice.
That's what I said to my mom. You should really frame these and hang them, because she has a specific sewing room. And so I said to her, yes, you need to frame these, one, to keep them from becoming damaged, and preserved, and they're just beautiful. Like, they would just be beautiful on as a gallery wall type thing.
I was going to say that if you had sold this piece, whoever bought it would have wanted all the staging props with it.
You know what? I don't know if you remember last time, Lane, when we were talking about a piece, and I had said,
it's that stool, actually.
It's I had this really nice piece that I wanted to keep for myself. So I thought, okay, well, I'll list it really high, and if it sells, it sells. And if not, I'll keep it. And then like 3 people wanted it. And so then I was tempted to do that for this one. Okay, what if I just I'll put a high price on it. If it sells, great. If not, I'll keep it. Then Jennifer's like, no,
I was someone is going to just come and they're going to say they want it. And you're going to be...
I'll be so disappointed that I didn't keep it.
No, you've always talked about the one in your kitchen. Just post that one, and then you can keep it and then just see. And if it doesn't sell, then that other one sold right away. Yes. So you're like, oh, it's meant to be. You're keeping it.
It's here to stay in my house for years, hopefully.
That's good. Yeah. Well, beautiful job on this desk. Share your Instagram account for our listeners, Jen and Amanda.
Yes, it's Vintage Sisters SK.
Very good. Well, Susan, you won second place with your old style classroom desk. You made great choices by going with natural wood and black tones. And I understand your daughter did some of the staging, or did the staging. That's incredible.
She was so cute. She said, Mom, when you do the podcast, are you going to mention me? I said, of course I will, sweetheart. So she's 7.
Yeah, you'll have to tell her we noticed that. That's like excellent.
Yes, I will. Yeah. She's 7 years old, but loves to watch me do my furniture and staging. And so I had it all staged, and she happened to walk by and she said, oh, no, Mom, hold on, give me a minute. Ran into the house, grabbed some items, and came out with a red book and an apple and started moving things around. So I just let her go with it. And it actually turned out really cute. I said, nice job. So I took pictures, and that was one of the pictures I ended up using. So I think she has a little knack for this.
She does. Yep. She's following your footsteps. That's for sure. Well, Susan, tell us about this piece, this desk.
So there are 2 of them. I think in the picture, they're almost identical, but I just happened to find this was probably one of my easiest projects. It was fun, quick, easy. I found the 2 coordinating desks from different people on Facebook Marketplace, picked them up, and they were in pretty poor condition, although the wood was good. And I knew, that could be sanded down, but the metal was quite rusty. So I had luck with a product that I just bought at Lowe's, the Rust-Oleum Rust Dissolver. Sprayed that all over. I was able to get rid of all the rust. It came off pretty easily. And then some sanding and steel wool, rinsed them down. And then the metal looked great, but I still painted it, obviously, because I wanted the nice black color. And then took it all apart, sanded the seats, the desk, and then finished the wood with just a natural seal, because I didn't want it to yellow. I didn't want any color with it. So used a natural seal, put it back together, and then did I started to do a stencil on the back, and I just don't have luck with stencils. They always bleed. I don't have a knack for that. So I ended up getting rid of the stencil that I did and just hand painted the number and then distressed it to make it look like it was vintage. So pretty easy set that I squeezed in among doing other things.
Yeah. Now this piece is, well, with respect to this, I'm looking at the one desk out of the two. It's all the desk portion
Yes,
and the chair are
yes,
all connected, so
yep.
it's all one piece now that it's back
Both of them
together.
were like
Yeah.
that.
Do you have any idea like what time period we're talking about with this desk?
I usually research and figure that out, but as I said, I was kind of squeezing this in because I was doing other custom pieces for someone and couldn't avoid doing the desks because of all that request for it. So I didn't research these as much as I normally would. I know I can picture that little old schoolhouse, one room schoolhouse for years ago, but I didn't get a
Yeah.
chance to research that, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that there's so much wood probably would date it back, a good ways. Because I know that when they started transforming the desks, obviously they started going metal.
Oh yeah, yep.
Sometimes the seats would be wood, but then the desk portion was metal. So I won't say what time period I come from because I do remember seeing. I do remember when we lived in Michigan, we had similar desks, but they were separate. The desk was separate from the chair,
Yes.
but it had this sort of shape to the desk portion, but it was all metal. Maybe there was a wood top. I don't remember. I'm curious though, on this piece, did you find any interesting, sometimes kids will carve into wood or they'll take their fingernail and dig into stuff. Did you have that kind of stuff?
No, there was no unique treasures, no gum stuck on the bottom either, which was nice. No, I didn't find anything like that. And the one right beside it that I did as a pair actually has a little, I think, what would have been an inkwell. So that probably would give us some clues
Oh.
about the time period too. And they were very similar desks, so I would guess they'd be right around the same time period. But the second one, kind of that's in the distance, has the top that lifts up and open, and the one in the front does not. But they were still very, very close as far as style and the wood and everything.
Wow. Well, these just turned out phenomenal. You really did a great job giving it the right. I think you even commented magnolia feel, and
Yes.
as well keeping it in the air of the desk's origination, roughly around. So you didn't really change it that much in that regards, and that's cool because it has that dated look to it. It's like it belongs in a old classroom, one room classroom environment. So
Yeah.
congratulations, Susan. Share your Instagram account with our listeners.
Thank you. It's Little Lou Designs.
Well, Jenna won first place. You refinished a uniquely designed desk as well, keeping the natural wood tones on the top and the legs and painting the body. What style would you call this piece and how did you acquire it?
I don't really, honestly, this piece was a vanity and I took the mirror off. It was pretty as a vanity, but it just was more functional as a desk, I felt like, and especially with so many people in the market for desks. So it actually came with a whole set. I got, a girl reached out to me and that happens a lot. I don't know if it happens to other people, but would be like, hey, I'm getting rid of this stuff. And they know that I refinish furniture. So they call me and they want to get rid of their stuff to me or sell it to me. So I went and I said, I'll take a look at it. And I loved it. I loved this and the dresser that went with it. And so I don't know. I loved the legs, the detail on the legs and just the detail on the drawers. And I just instantly had this vision for it that I was going to strip the legs and strip the top and then give it like this really light, airy with some blonde wood feels. And one of my favorite colors by Fusion is Sacred Sage. So I don't know. It was funny. I started working on it like late at the end of the day. My husband had just got home from work and he's like, what are you doing? Because usually I've already shut down shop and I'm like, I just got this vision for this desk. I gotta do it. I got it while it's in my head and I gotta go with it. I gotta run with it. He's like, all right. So he went and picked up the baby and I just kept working on the desk. And I had it done in like a day or two. I think I was just really honed in on it. And I don't know. I just had this feeling about the desk that I really liked. And it worked out good.
Yeah, it's so unique in this, and changing it from a vanity to a desk is a great idea. I'm sure it's an opportunity for a lot of people to consider. Now, I assume that's new hardware that you put on there?
Yeah, so I did new hardware on it, took the old hardware off. The original hardware was pretty, but it was just a little too big, and I wanted something a little more feminine. Luckily, I've been stockpiling a bunch of hardware just because with COVID, it's a little tougher to get hardware, especially like
Hmm.
just a last minute thing to run out. So when I order, I try to order in bulk, and I only had 4 of the white pulls on top, and I originally was going to do all white pulls. Um, and I didn't have them, and I was like, oh, do I want to wait and order some, or can I work with something else that I have? And then I had those other pulls, the teardrop pulls, and I put them on, and I liked the way they looked, so I just kind of went with it.
Yeah, it's almost like now that you see it, I wonder if you'd had the other pulls, if it'd been too much, Who knows?
Yeah, and that's what I thought. Like, it was funny because, like I said, in my head, I didn't know I only had 4 left. I was like, oh, yeah, I got going on. I'm like, oh, no, I only have 4. What am I going to do? And then I had the other ones, and I'm like, well, let's put them on. If I hate them, I'll just order the other ones and no harm done. But I loved the way they looked. So, yeah, I think it would have been maybe just a little too much. I kind of like the
Yeah.
contrast.
It's a nice balance. Now on those legs, was it a bear trying to strip that down?
Not bad, no. Surprisingly, I did take off the veneer. And it was funny. So when I took off the veneer on the one leg, the wood was like two-toned. And I was
Hmm.
like, kind of like, oh, I don't know. But I actually kind of liked it. And I was kind of hoping that the other side had it, but it didn't. And no, it wasn't bad at all. I just sanded them, and luckily the varnish, whatever was on it prior, came off fairly easy. And I was really happy that the legs came out as light as they did, because I wasn't sure how that was going to look. And the top is a
Yeah.
veneer, and that looked really pretty too. So it just ended up working out. It doesn't always work out that way when you're working with wood and veneer and all different sorts of colors of the wood. In this instance, it did work out. So
And seeing that darker tone on the right side is
yeah,
is actually kind of I like that. I don't know. It's one of those things that it keeps it original,
yeah,
and that's what makes a lot of these pieces so unique in many ways.
exactly.
Um, do you have this piece or did you sell it?
I did. I sold it. I had it for a while. It was funny. So my neighbor, she's bought a bunch of stuff from me, and she had bought a desk, and she was like, "Well, maybe I'll get rid of my other desk and I'll sell it back to you." She's like, "And I'll buy the other one." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever you want to do," because she was like obsessed with it. And then she's like, "Well, if somebody else wants it, don't hold it for me." And I said, "Okay, no problem." And then one of my other customers that has bought a bunch of stuff from me, had messaged me, and she's like, I got to have that desk. I keep looking at it. I don't know how it's still for sale, but I got to have it. And I was like, it's yours if you want it. And she came and picked it up. She was like, it's even better in person. I'm like, yeah, pictures are great, but sometimes when you see the piece in person, it brings it all to life, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I left it all staged and everything in my showroom. So she got to see it, how I took the picture of it. And that's my customers, when they come into the showroom, that's what they love. They're like, oh my God, I want to buy all your props and your stage and stuff. I'm like, you can't have them. I'm sorry. You know how long it's taken me to find the stuff?
I guess you would sell them for a price, right?
Nah, I don't know though. I don't know that I would, because some pieces are just, some things I'm like, here, you can go here and you can buy them yourself, if it's something I got
Yeah,
store. But if it's something that's like really vintage and unique, I don't know. Sometimes it's like, man, money that doesn't even matter. I like,
yeah,
you got like a little connection with it, and you're like, I can't let it go. I'd kick myself if I did.
yeah. But it's invaluable to you.
Hmm.
Well, congratulations on winning first place, Jenna. You did a phenomenal job. We love the uniqueness of it as well. Share your Instagram account with our listeners.
It's Happy Valley Restorations.
This podcast is sponsored by Zebra, makers of the high-end yet affordable line of application-specific paintbrushes. Zebra's new website is up at enjoyzebra.com, and we invite you to take it for a test drive. Test drive because it's more than an ordinary product website. There is plenty of inspiration for you, as well as a really cool quiz that guides you to the ideal Zebra paintbrush you need for your painting application. You can peruse the products that range from our paintbrushes, of course, to our latest apron designs, to our new paintbrush kit offerings. That, I might add, come in a really unique canvas bag, and any purchase over $35 or more means free shipping for those living in the United States. Well, it's time for our Zebra panel discussion. Today's topic among our Zebra Review winners is how important is your refinishing workspace environment? The discussion is open here because we want to hear about your own experiences, like what has worked for you and in turn what hasn't worked for you. And I would also add a big part of this is making sure you create an environment that nurtures creativity and productivity. And so we realize that is going to be different for different folks. I'm going to turn it over to our winners for the time being.
I'll start. I think for us too, when I look back, say a few years ago when we started, our workspace has really changed over the few years, right? I think obviously just with time, you start to figure out what works and what doesn't, and what helps productivity. I think about how many pieces of furniture we would lift and drag around the garage before we invested in the simple furniture dollies, right? It's mind blowing to think we didn't use those for so many years, and now it's you unload your big piece of furniture and put your furniture dollies underneath, and then you can move them wherever you want so much easier, and so just simple things like that. And I think too, having our staging area, obviously still to this day isn't perfect, but it has come a long way to when we didn't really have one. So now having a designated staging area just is so much easier. And
you're not hauling your furniture back into the house to put on the wall that gets good.
That's what we used to do years ago. And my husband would come home and he would just shake his head and he would just sit there and watch Jen and I as we're dragging a buffet through the house into the living room to the best lit corner. And it was a specific time of day. It was late afternoon. And then I'm taking the artwork off the walls. And it was just, so much extra work and time. So to just have those few things sorted out makes such a big difference, for sure. We obviously, our weather is a lot colder. Our winters are down to minus 40, sometimes close to minus 50 with degrees Celsius with the wind. So we can't work outside during the winter months. So we have to have a heated garage for us to work. So that is a huge thing for us, investment. Luckily, that's just kind of how we built our houses and had the heated garages in there. But that makes a big difference for us. I think when it's nice out, we like to be outside sanding if we can, just to be enjoying the fresh air or sunshine. But same thing, just having a simple vacuum system attached to your sander to keep the dust under control is a huge thing that we didn't do initially when we first started. So now, and even sometimes when I go to Jen's and she doesn't have her vacuum hooked up, I'm like, I can't work in here. I get high maintenance now. I'm like, I can't work in this garage. You need to have your vacuum system. I take an antihistamine before I go out there. I'm like, I can't work in here. So get your vacuum set up. And so it's funny how particular we've become over the years with stuff like that. So yes, definitely.
Or even just your organizing of the products you use,
Yes.
We have our own storage of our paint and supplies, and then you have your brushes, and I've seen a lot of other people on their videos and stuff, how they'll have their brushes hanging on little nails or something on the end of a cupboard, or I'll use dressers. That's on my sandpaper is all in dressers in my garage too, and my tools are too. But I feel my husband for sure is really likes his tools put back in the same spot, but he'll take them while I'm using them. And he likes to put it back. But it is nice to always have your stuff in the right spot so that you're always, finding it. Like my paint can opener, that's one thing that really irritates me if
I
somebody
know.
moves it and it's in the specific, yes.
And I finally put a hook, because I'm always looking for my paint can opener and it drives me nuts, and I'll put it in my little canister, but then it falls to the bottom and I'm digging. So finally, like, we've been doing this for years. I finally just gave it a separate hook, like just maybe last month. I'm like, why haven't I been doing this for years? I have got a separate hook. It hangs on my shelf and it never goes missing. So it's just silly things like that sure make the day go by quicker, or easier, I should say.
I think you need to have multiple can openers. Around here, when you buy paint at paint stores, they will give you free can openers, which is awesome. So I probably have 10 of them lying around because, as you said, that's one thing that disappears. So I just have them everywhere. So when there's always one in sight.
I only ever get a free stir stick. I never get free paint.
You don't get paint can openers up here. Cheapos.
But one thing too, like I've been finding, I use, we have our inventory of furniture in the garage. And so we have a couple work tables set up, but then sometimes too, I'm getting into a habit of I'll be like, okay, so this dresser isn't claimed or whatever. So then I'll use that dresser as my workbench sometimes if it's the perfect height to put the other piece of furniture on top to paint it. So that works well too, right? Because I'm not dragging out another work table. I'm utilizing a piece of furniture that's already in there. And so then sometimes, I'll use that as work tables. We try to keep our inventory organized and up against the walls, and like we stack furniture, right? So obviously utilizing your space vertically so that there's less on the ground and more up against the wall out of the way. But our garages are always full. We're never going to be able to park in them.
Yeah.
I have to interject. You stack your furniture. Do you guys have like a tiny forklift in your garage?
No, we can usually manage. Like I feel like we're
pretty strong.
I think people are surprised at how strong or tough we are loading all this furniture the time. And so, if I can't, obviously I get my husband out saying, okay, honey, help me lift this. But no, I don't think there's ever been a piece that Jen and I haven't been able to move or lift. Hey,
I agree with you. I think you have to be strong to be in this profession, because I stack my own furniture. I'm like,
I agree.
Myself too in the garage. I pick up pieces and people are like, oh, well, who's going to help you load the piece? I said, oh, don't worry about it. I can get it in my car. Really? you get used to it.
I know.
How to do
and
it.
The funny thing, I've actually gotten my son to help me unload furniture sometimes. He's 9 and he's a tough little 9-year-old. And so I'll be like, hey, Harlan, come on out. Mom needs you to help unload a dresser I just bought. And then the other day I had him and his other little buddy who's the same age. Okay, we're going to move that desk, the one that we're talking about. After it was done, I needed to move it into the house. And so, like stuff like that, I can't do myself really, right? It's just too awkward. So I'm like, okay, grab an end. Let's go. So even like my little kids I can put to work, and they're quite helpful moving things around.
One thing I just thought of was like having your being able to put your finished product somewhere is important to me.
Yes.
I have cats, and I always, like I say to Ryan, once something is purchased, like if somebody has already bought something, it's sold. Like I can't have a scratch on it. It has to be ready to be picked up. So we move it actually out to his shop and then I cover it. So I don't want it, after it's been staged and the photos are done, I don't want that to get anything happening to it. So that's one thing. I don't know if, not everybody has a spot to move it to till it's picked up, or some people have a date that they, it's got to be picked up right away. And so that helps too, to have another place to move it to.
Yeah.
Now, Jenna, do you stack your furniture as well?
Well, so it's funny. I'm listening to them. It's like, I'm so glad that I'm not the only one that's done all of these things. Like this is great. There's other people that are nuts like I am. No, when I first started doing the furniture, I used to do it in my living room, in my dining room. Like it was winter and I was in the garage, but then I had to move into the house because it got cold and I didn't have heat out there. And my whole dining room table was covered in paint supplies and I overtook the whole house. And my husband's like, we got to figure something out. Like, if this is what you're going to do, like, this can't happen. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. I didn't listen to him. And then I got the garage set up better and got a pellet stove, but it was still cold. Finally got myself a staging wall, but it was a little dark, moving furniture all over the place. Like, my husband would say to me, how many times are we going to move this furniture? I'm like, this is what I do, okay, for a living. So we're going to keep moving it. Just get over it. And I use pieces, like, and like all of a sudden it's like a catch-all. I'm like, what the heck happened? There's stuff all over this piece, but it's just like right there. And you're like, okay, we can just put it on it or put other furniture on it. Yeah. I mean, it's just so funny how my shop has evolved. And now, so just last November, we took out a loan and we redid the whole back of the shop. We tore it off and I said, I just want a showroom. And then the front of the shop, I want to be redone and insulated and heat. And so it's been a year in the making that this has happened, because it started last November. And I'm just getting my bathroom in. My father-in-law was here last night. He got my toilet in, and hopefully by tonight my water will be hooked up and I'll have a sink and a toilet out in the shop. Finally, instead of having to come in the house and do it, because I'd have the girls that work for me, they'd come and like they have to come into the house to go pee, and I was like, I can't have this. Like, we got to have a bathroom. And yeah, so it's evolved finally, because it was crazy in the beginning. Yeah, and moving stuff, and I never used dollies. I would, you're muscling things and you're pushing them around, and my husband's like, you're gonna break a leg on one of those things. Like, what are you doing? You're so rough. And I'm like, well, nobody's here to help me. I gotta do it myself. So I got, I made things a lot easier for myself. But in the beginning, man, if there could have been a show to see the things that we do for this furniture, I swear people would think I'm crazy. But you know what? It's a labor of love, all in all.
Agreed. Yes. And I mean, obviously it's things you just learn over time too, but I mean, something as simple as investing in some furniture dollies, makes a world of a difference.
Or just, I usually, like, when we get something home, I'll put casters on it if it doesn't have them on, just for wheeling it around, because it's so much nicer to just push it out of the way. So I don't have the dollies Amanda does, but I have casters on pretty much anything that comes into our garage so we can push it around.
Yeah. Makes such a difference.
I was going to say, I finally just bought a bunch of bins for my shelves, because I would probably waste, a good hour every time I was out in my garage, is where I do my furniture, looking for tools. And where did that go? Where's my, face mask? Where's this and that? And I said, this is ridiculous. I have to organize it and I will save so much time. So I went to Target, bought a bunch of cute clear bins. My friend made labels for them. And now I think my time I'm so much more efficient with my time, because everything is easy to find, just there on my shelf. I'm like, why didn't I do this earlier, sooner? What took me so long to get organized?
Yes.
Or even me with like my hardware, and I'm like searching, and that would be half my day. Like, I just spent like an hour on trying to find hardware. Like, what the heck? I'll look at the time. I'm like, where did my time go?
Yep.
Because I was unorganized, and you throw something here and you set something down here, and then you're like, oh my God, the girls that work for me, I'd be like, where did I put that? Did you see that? And it's like right there in front of my face. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I do this all the time. I've got to get my stuff together. Like, I gotta get organized, because you can waste so much time being unorganized, not being able to find stuff.
Yeah. Or like, you could have duplicates too. Like, there's certain things that I'll have lots of. Like, I have a lot of tape measures, so I have one in my storage unit, like, because if I go there, I'll forget it at home, and then I'll have to drive home for my measuring tape. So I leave it right at the front door. And then I also have a hammer in there too. And then in our garage, I have like 2 tape measures, 2 hammers, and a mini hammer. Yeah. And then even a little shorter hammer. And then Ryan's shop has, umpteen of all those too. But I just like to have several of those things so that I'm like have Yeah.
Never looking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For those things they use all the
I
time.
still am looking, and I feel like I make it more convenient, and I will take the one tape measure. My husband's like, "Where are all the tape measures?" He's like, "We have 12." I'm like, "I don't know. I can't find any of them." And then I'll go look in the barn, and I'll be like, "Oh, I left it up there. Great." Yeah.
I got a tiny one for my purse too, actually. It was
Oh, yeah.
it's a really itty bitty one in my purse, and it's sort of just for the reason of if you're at somewhere and you just have an impulse buy of furniture, which happens often, but it's like, is this gonna fit in my car? Or, so just so you have it.
I've had that happen. I got all the way there and it didn't fit. I'm like, should I strap it on the top? My husband's like, no, go back. Don't. I'll call him. I'm like, can I strap this on the top? He's like, Jenna, don't even think about it.
Do either of you guys have a spray booth, or do you spray?
So we did spray. We had a little makeshift one set up with just tarp, like a plastic.
Mhm.
And then when we did the shop, we put in an exhaust fan. And now at this point, I just need to make some room, but I actually have some chairs that I got to spray. A lot of times I'll spray, when I do cabinets, I'll spray, and I'll spray the top coat, on it.
Mhm.
But I've never really gotten into full blown, spraying paint.
Mhm.
I don't know that I fully want to, maybe for certain things, but,
Yes.
one thing that I just never really, I always wanted to, but then I'm like, I don't know, do I really want to do that? But I do have a sprayer and I do like it. And I do it for chairs and things that have a lot of detail and that are just easier to spray
Right.
as opposed to paint.
Right.
Yeah.
Any sense?
Yes.
Jenna, can I interject here? Do you really want to get into spraying? No. I think you want to use paintbrushes. Listen, paintbrushes.
I agree, Lane.
Exactly.
Come on.
Exactly. No, but I mean, it's been almost 4 years and I've had a sprayer and I don't really use it that much. I mean, I enjoy painting, hand painting. And honestly, I like the coverage better. I feel like the paint
Mhm.
goes on better and as opposed to when you're spraying it. I don't know. I just feel like there's more, it's kind of more of a hassle.
It is a hassle. Just every time you have to clean out the sprayer, and but I have a makeshift spray booth also that I just have tarps hanging from the ceiling that I can put up, take down, but nothing more than that.
The reason why I was asking was, do you have space for that? Is that even an issue? Is that an issue to have that type? We don't spray either, and I don't think. I mean, we could probably make room, but I don't think I want to be
wouldn't
honest.
be something that would be up all
No.
the time. And then the other booth I was thinking of is the sandblasting too. I do have sandblasters, but I've tried it in the wintertime. Not a good thing to do here. It's way too cold to do outside, and it just bungs up because it gets too moist inside. But it's way too messy to do inside without some sort of a booth or ventilation. So that's something that has to be done in the summertime here if we do any blasting.
Well, we know that some people combine spraying with brushing, and but you know what? There's something about using a paintbrush, feeling that piece as you're painting it, and seeing the artistic elements. No, I know. We just had to interject that. Certainly, why would we not? Right? We're all about zebra paintbrushes.
Yeah. Feel free to take that comment out of mine. That question.
No, we know some people, though. I just actually laughed at that and wanted to have a little bit of fun with it as well. But, I do want to also ask you guys, because you guys are talking a lot about productivity, and I think that's so important. Susan, you mentioned having bins and being able to have places to put things so that you don't spend 10, 20, 30 minutes finding stuff. You talk about having these dollies that allow you to transport furniture around, and then also stacking furniture, probably so you've got space to work. But, I was thinking about that's the productive element of it. What about the idea of having an environment that is that nurtures creativity? I mean, like what do you do for that? I mean, because obviously it's a workspace, right? And it's in your garage. Like, is that important to you guys, or do you just like do you listen to music when you're working?
I was
And
just gonna
do you listen to
Yes.
the
yes.
podcast, the
Yeah,
Zebra
I do.
podcast?
Yes, like I always have to have music on for sure. And then sometimes I get sick of listening to your radio, right? Same songs over and over. So yeah, I do. I listen to podcasts, and I'll listen to Zebra. I have my favorite, comedians or whatever. I feel like it has to be something light and, funny to listen to. I think for me, my space needs to be, I mean, we're in a garage or a shop. It's never going to be immaculately clean, right? But I think it just naturally, if it's tidy somewhat, then you're not stressed out. Like if you go out to your garage and it's a disaster, then for myself, I just feel like, oh, this is so chaotic. Then you can't concentrate, and then your creativity just doesn't work, right? Whereas, so when even if you're just in a space, it doesn't need to have creative artwork on the walls, or it doesn't need to have something fabulous in your garage. I just think if it's tidy and you can go out there and you can feel relaxed, then it just naturally flows.
Yeah.
Right. So that's for me, that's what more so works. And then, I have to have music. If it's, later in the day and it's hot out, I'll crack a beer while I'm working. Right. So it's just, those little things that help for me.
I don't know what this says about me, but I listen to the Zebra podcast, but I also listen to True Crime podcast. Maybe I should go to the music rooms.
Oh.
And I do a lot of my work late at night too, so I don't know.
Yeah, I find that I'm more creative at night, but I guess now since I had my daughter, I don't get to do that as much at night. But I think just as a person, I'm more creative in the evening, which is really weird. It takes me a bit to get going in the morning to create, creative wise. But since I've redone the shop and everything, and it's lighter, it was a little dark, just a little dark and dingy. I just felt like it wasn't a bright, positive area. Now I've brightened it up. I have like white steel on the ceiling and then just white walls. And then in the shop, I did like a white shiplap in the showroom part. And just that in itself made it just brighter and it better to work in. And I was able to hone in on things and actually get like some creative juices going. But before it was kind of like, especially on a dark, dingy day, you'd be like, oh, I feel like I'm in a dungeon right now because it's a garage, and it wasn't just, it wasn't pretty. And not that it needed to be, but it just needed to be brighter. And ever since I did that, I feel like, okay, I don't mind. I like being in there. I like working in there. But there would be times I go in there, and especially if there'd be like, sometimes you're done working and you just like kind of leave everything, and like it's like a tornado came through, and you're just like, oh my God, what did I do yesterday? And then I gotta clean up because I can't just get working again when it's like a complete mess. I feel like it's got to be it doesn't have to be super clean because it's a shop, but it's got to be like somewhat put together. Otherwise, I can't concentrate.
Yeah, and it's important to recognize that what you need to do to be able to create a creative environment and to be able to just stop and clean up if you need to clean up.
Yes.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. You guys have great synergy. I know our listening friends not only enjoyed it, but were inspired as well. Listen, a special thank you to all four of you for joining us today. Stay safe and stay well.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Lane.
Yes, this was fun. Thanks.
Today and tomorrow are special days here at Zebra as we have two members of the Zebra crew celebrating back-to-back birthdays. Join us in wishing Susan Shipe, our customer service manager. Her birthday is today, Wednesday. And Mike Sherman, our CEO, his birthday is tomorrow, Thursday. We appreciate you both and your incredible contributions to this company. We wish you guys the best happy birthday and the best year ever. The Zebra Review monthly contest is underway for October, and the theme is, well, you guessed it, October Glory, in appreciation of this season's beautiful fall colors. Entries are open until October 31st, 2020. Just step outside and appreciate all the colors of reds, oranges, yellows, and greens that are so popular in nature this time of year. Use the hashtag #TheZebraReview and you'll have your piece before our judging panel as they will choose 3 winners. This month's guest judge is Jo with Click to Restore. She was our first place winner for August. Great prizes await the winners from Shacto Interiors Milk Paint, D Lawless Hardware, Surf Prep Sanding, Katie Cloud Candle Products, and Zebra Paintbrushes. All pieces refinished from January 1st, 2020 to October 31st, 2020 are eligible for entry. Zebra Collective Quarterly Contest for fall is open for entries as well. There are so many ways to create your furniture pieces by reflecting the inspiration of fall with vibrant colors to dark, crisp colors of fall leaves, cheery and whimsical themes to the natural tones of the season. Make sure you tag your pieces with the hashtag Zebra Collective. We are so grateful to our prize sponsors who range from Weather Wash, Surf Prep Sanding, the Chippy Barn, Redesign with Prima, and our Zebra Paintbrushes. All pieces that were refinished from June 1st, 2020 through October 24th, 2020 may be entered. We would love for many more people to discover the Zebra Before and After podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast directory. It really does make a huge difference in the rankings. And thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Zebra Blogs Before and After Furniture Refinishing podcast. Today's episode is also featured on the zebrablog.com along with contact information for today's guest. Your comments and suggestions for future episodes are always welcome, and we encourage you to share those by clicking on the podcast slide in our header at the Zebra. Thanks for listening. Stay safe and happy refinishing. Blog.com.